Welcome to Bounce Back is Easy, India's only portal for motivation and mental health. Hi, good afternoon, Colonel Alok. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Ananditi. I'm very fine. Thank you very much for taking on board to give it back to the society for whatever experiences I have. Thank you.
So, you'd like to, first of all, hear about your story, about what has been your journey so far before we get into your perspective. If you can briefly share with us who you are, Colonel Alok, and what has been your life so far over the last so many years.
Okay. Once again, thank you, Ananditi. It's my privilege to share my stories, and the story includes the story from the beginning. So, see, I am born and brought up at a fairly small place. Been done basic education there only, and later part in the life, then I went to the bigger cities, from the state capital to the national capital and to other cities in the pursuit of my career. And at a certain point in time, when I was a kind of, I won't say dilemma, but I was getting into the another career. That is the time that I got an opportunity to qualify Union Public Service Commission Combined Defense Services Examination. That is through a written test and also through a personality assessment that happens in the Service Selection Board that goes on for 5 days. And once I qualified that I went to the training for Army in the military academy. And thereafter I joined my career. I joined Indian Army as an officer. So it's been close to now 2 decades. I've had various and varied experiences, both in armed forces in various capacities, at all places. When I say all places, that means the field, peace, counterterrorism, training, personality assessment. That's a specialized one, as well as in the corporate now, where I have worked in manufacturing industries in the leadership position, then in the IT industry, again in this even more leadership position. And presently, I'm a part of pharma industry, right? And handling large portfolio. So that's about my career. Personally, I've been an outgoing, I've been an extrovert person, I consider myself to be. I've been a sports person. I love to play sports, going around, traveling and touring places, love to take challenges, adventures, so all those things. And the most important thing that I like and my passion is to develop leadership qualities, give it back to the society and the young people. In fact, that's my passion, that, whenever I do something which can help people growing their leadership qualities, that gives me a lot of satisfaction. So this is about me, Anu, in short.
Oh, great. Thank you, Colonel Alok. I mean, this is very inspirational. So you shifted from a military career to a corporate career, and which I think is quite common in the country. But we are very keen to hear from you, like, what were your motivation first to join your, let's say, army, your armed forces, and then what prompted you to then seek a career in corporate, and what has been your key purpose in life, the overall journey, if you can shed a little bit more light around that.
Okay. So if you talk about motivation to join army, there were many motivations. And when I say many, see, if I look back, back then, I had never met any army officer, naval officer, or Air Force officers in my life, till graduation, till the time I joined army, and had never interacted with any one of them. But when I look back my childhood, I feel that I was always attracted to, some kind of national events. For example, whenever there was 26th January and 15th of August, and the parade used to take place at the smaller place, I would always feel that I'm more attracted to attend that, witness that, and also stories of national heroes, specifically those who had sacrificed, won certain gallantry awards, that would definitely attract me. But I did not know how to approach, how to go, and how to take this ahead in my life. That was one of the motivation. As I progressed in life, people are kind of, my peers, they started pursuing different career. Even I had an option to pursue different career. And when I had to choose my career, the only motivation when I remember that pushed me towards army is I wanted to take certain leadership positions ever in life. I wanted to give it back to the society. Now, I did not know that point in time whether it was army or it will be army or it will be, any other walks of life. But the only vision and only dream that I had, that I do not want to settle down anything less than the leadership positions anywhere. Anything where I can lead group of people towards the overall objective. And if that objective is set and aligned to the country's objective as such, that can give it back to the country in a very closest form. I think that was something which always pushed me, that motivated me a lot. And therefore, at a time when I was placed in the corporate, and when my friends opted for a various IT and other corporate job, I opted for combined defense services examinations. So that was a point of motivation I had back then, and this is how, as of now, when years down the line, the time when I can, because by then I had varied experiences. I've seen blood, bullets, I've seen operations, I've seen training, I've seen various aspects of army life. At one point in time, I got into the specialized role of army, that is a personality assessor. We call it a group testing officer in the service selection board. That is highly specialized because among officers also, the pass percentage to become an officer, this assessor, is very, very less. Fine. So I got into that. And what does that mean? That simply means that you are assessing personalities of candidates coming from length and breadth of the country to join Army, Navy, and Air Force, want to become an you can say officer in the Army, Navy, or Air Force. And that assessment was on the leadership quality. So you're assessing their leadership qualities, their present level, and predicting as if they can lead, they can become the officer of Army, Navy, and Air Force. This was so specialized assignment that gave me a lot of insight about the personalities, and that actually kind of ignited some kind of more energy in me, that if I utilize this skill for the larger interest, probably I'll be more happy, something on that note. And therefore I felt that this is the time that I have to take a call, whether I have to retire from army, see only one army life, or I have seen quite a lot of substantial years in army, and now I have to see the other part of life as well and contribute back more, in the larger sphere, larger space of the society. So this is what my journey was so far, and that's how I left army at a certain point in time. I took premature retirement, and then I'm a part of corporate now.
Great, great. Now, this is very interesting, Colonel Alok. So here I'll make a shift from about your life journey to your perspectives. Now, very often we find a lot of students talk about passion, right? And they are all, they find it very difficult to understand what is my passion. Like especially, and not only students, we have found that many times even people in their 30s, they don't know what their passion in life is because they run the mill, but then they struggle to find out, why am I doing it? Of course, you need to take care of your survival. You need to, you need the financial imperatives are important, but that intrinsic motivation, people not even know that what it is for them. So what would be your suggestion for especially young people, people in their schools and colleges? How should they, or what should they do to really decode what is their passion?
As you rightly said, Anu, there will always be a conflict between what your heart says and what your mind says. And if you combine that with the day-to-day life challenges, that is a survival challenges, it makes it more complex.
Yes.
You have to have a balance. I would never suggest, because see, to first pursue your passion, firstly you have to survive, fine? But then there are different ways to survive. Mm-hmm. As close you follow what your heart says, and in that, if you survive, your passion will start going in the right direction. But if you feel that, okay, if your basic survival is there, at least, I will tell you, at least, or maybe as late as then, you start following what your heart says. Because if your heart says something, that at the end of the day, when you go back, you should feel satisfied that I have done something that I wanted to do. It could be anything. I wanted to do this thing for the day, and I have done it. That's where the satisfaction also comes, and that's where you get galvanized for the next day to do and repeat it again and again, and to take it to the next level. Fine. Of course, when you do that, there'll be a lot of challenges. Again, the conflict will continue. There'll be a lot of challenges, and that's where the leadership qualities comes in between. That whenever there is a challenge, either you give up, either you take a step back, or you sustain and take a step ahead. If you take a step ahead, you will always be uncomfortable. But if you make uncomfortability as a part of bring it in your DNA, and if you become comfortable with this uncomfortability, then gradually that will be your habit. The habit will turn into attitude, and attitude will allow you to pursue your passion always and every time. then it's something like uncomfortability is a part of your life. And that's what the military life taught me, army life taught me, right from the day on the training, when every single day was a different challenge. Every single minute right from the morning was totally uncomfortable. Initially, we had difficulty, we had struggle, but the moment you get tuned to it, you feel that you cannot stay without it. It's something that you want. And at the end of the training, if somebody will ask you that, what is your feedback? Do you want this training to be ease out, or you want this to continue, the toughness to continue? In one voice, people say, and all the cadets, they turn into officer, they say, no, the tough training should continue, because by then they understand the benefit of it. And with this benefit, now their passion comes into picture that, okay, everybody has a different value system, everybody has different objectives in life, whatever their passion. With this training, with this getting comfortable with this uncomfortability, whatever heart says, they pursue, because whenever they become uncomfortable, whenever there are challenges in life, they remember that I have to, go ahead. And they follow their heart. They follow their heart, absolutely. And when they follow their heart, keep the basic survival also in mind, because it shouldn't happen that your survival is at stake. But if you really follow your passion today or tomorrow, survival it's an automatic survival. It's like you don't have to worry about it, because the passion will bring you glory. The passion will bring you the finances. The passion will turn, you can say, your dream into reality. The passion will give you satisfaction. Everything will fall in the right place. Yes, at times it may take some days here and there, some months here and there, some years here and there. But at the end of the day, survival will be natural. So that's what I would suggest to all my folks.
Oh, great. That's very interesting, Colonel Alok. So just to probe this point a little bit, and I completely agree with you that, if you really make sure that you follow your heart, and of course, with some basic survival necessities taken in place, then in the longer run, passion gives you meaning, and you get stronger and stronger in what the karma that you're doing, or the profession you have chosen, right? And over a period of time, then money, fame, admiration, everything follows, right? I mean, you just have to be a bit smart about things. But having said that, many times, we have found people being confused between two constructs. Again, in the language of psychology, one is this entire business of passion, which people at times say was, especially in a developing country like India, you always don't get to follow your passion, right? Like, for instance, I'll give very specific examples. And why I'm sharing this is to share a very mature perspective, to get your mature perspective on those fronts. So like sometimes people say, okay, we want to become an engineer. We want to become, let's say, a computer engineer. But you appear for IIT, you work all the hard, but the results are not in your hand. And you might end up getting a rank that you get metallurgy, let's say, or chemical engineering. And you have no business, no interest in getting into a mine or a blast furnace to cook steel. Now, the question is, of course, you have worked for IIT, because you wanted computer science, you were passionate about computer science, but the ground reality is, because of the demand supply gap, you became a chemical engineer, right? Or a metallurgy engineer. Now, that poor guy then says, boss, what mess I made out of myself? I wanted excellence, right? So here, when we are talking a more real world situation like this, and this is just an example, what would be your perspective, Colonel Alok, around how to deal with these real nuances, right? Because not all of us are born out of silver spoon that we can manage to give up opportunities. We have our obligations, we have our financial imperatives, and we have social compulsions, right? So what is your perspective there?
So if you look at it, all those challenges that you talked about are not in isolation. These are all interwoven. Fine. The effect of one will have an effect on an impact on another. Fine. So that's where. Now we talked about engineering graduates. Let me just share my story. After +2, even at my time, even now I can say that there were only two options at the smaller places. One was engineering, second was medical. And those were the time where not many, I would say, engineering colleges were there. When I say not many, I'm excluding that donation or capitation fee type of engineering college, which later turned into a kind of, they were included in the combined state combined exams and all. Not many options. So firstly, what happened was you qualify either in engineering, you opt for it, or you qualify in medical. Those were the two options every single youngster after +2 will have it, especially those who opted for the science, and majority of them, they had this career opting for science only. That point in time, when you were writing engineering entrance exams, is there anybody who's clear that I wanted to be a computer engineer, I wanted to be a metallurgy engineer, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer? Very less of them. The only aim that they will have at that point in time was that I have to crack the exam. Cracking the exam, that becomes priority one, rather than choosing that, whether I want to learn computers, I want to learn physics, or I want to learn something else. Because that was, you can say, the demand of the time. For parents, for the entire ecosystem, success, getting a rank into IIT JEE, or maybe a rank into other qualitative engineering exams or the medical exam, that is more important than learning a particular thing. And everybody used to get driven by that. Now, is this the purpose that I have in life? +2 is, you are not too old by then. Therefore, you have to get guided by the surroundings, ecosystem, family, everything. But there are certain sense at that point in time. Like I had sense always. After +2, when I was posted in engineering, and let me accept it that I wrote IIT and couple of such engineering exams, and I didn't qualify. But when I did not qualify, even I was sad. I said, no, I couldn't qualify. And I did not have that much money to get into, give some kind of heavy capitation fee and get into a good colleges. I did not have that option. The only thing when I talked about I had was, now I have to find an alternate option. Right? When I say alternate, that means this is not the end of the road. That gives you a push kind of thing that, okay, you are not giving up. You always have an alternate. Now, when you have an alternate, at what level you want alternate to be? Do you want at the average level, working class, or do you want a supervisory class, or do you want a leadership class? Now you do not know where you will land up in future, but one thing you are clear of, that what is your acceptance level? Like when I share my experience, my acceptance level at all point in time was not less than any of the leadership position. I begin by telling this. So even though we started finding the alternates, among my friends and peer group, I would always talk about it. That in future, this is something or this is something, but all were almost at par with each other in terms of leadership position. Right? So that particular thing is very important, that what is your acceptance level in future? How do you want yourself to be seen? Do you want yourself to be seen in a typical working class, or you want yourself to be seen as a class where you are contributing back to the society, contributing back to the group, contributing back to the nation, or anything for that matter? The moment your acceptance is at certain level, every step of yours, whether it is consciously or unconsciously, will be in that direction. And at that point in time, you may find challenges. People may have finance challenges. People may have many other challenges, but you will not stop. You may have short-term, I can say, milestones. But then, even though you reach that milestone, you will not stop, because your acceptance level is even higher. You will not stop. You will not be satisfied. You will be happy for whatever you get it, but you will not be satisfied, because you always aspire to go to the next level. And that's where in today's generation I find. And you talked about, I drifted a little bit here and there, but when you talked about, you can say, how to find it actually, right? You talked about many people doing engineering, then turning into MBA, then turning into the bank job and things like that. Why do they do this? They complete engineering from a topmost institute. At the end of engineering, you find this was not my goal. And then they step into and they move into a good management college. And nowadays it's not management college. They step into the varieties of, you can say, career options. And those are unconventional career options. Somebody turning into musician, somebody is turning into social worker, somebody is turning into a different field altogether. That simply means that, yes, engineering gives them the degree and also a very good experience how to handle tough, challenging situations, because every day in your degree and class, it's not easy. It's always, full of challenges. So that gave the life experiences to handle things. But at the end of the day, you did not enjoy doing it. And the moment you did not enjoy doing it, you had two options: for the survival for yourself or for your obligation, responsibility. You continue that. And even though you opt for this option that you continue for a job, if your acceptance is different, something that you enjoy is different, you will still continue moving and finding ways and means somewhere or the other, consciously, unconsciously, you keep finding ways and means how to get to the thing which I enjoy more. And in case there are less obligations or no obligations, you will straight away jump into that side and jump into doing something that you enjoy more. So at all point in time, keep two things in mind. Listen to what your heart says. What is a priority? What is your heart says? Fine. That's something you should always enjoy doing something. Whether it's a day-to-day job or it's a future, you should enjoy. It should be from heart. And whenever the conflict comes, yes, of course, you have a survival milestones, but you achieved and you reach the milestone doesn't mean that you achieved everything. Right? Many people do it on the part-time basis. Like I am doing a job. I am handling larger responsibility and portfolio in a corporate organization. But my passion is to give it back to the society, talk to the young people, tell them what are the leadership development, what are the leadership qualities, how to improve them, how to do what to do in a day-to-day life where these leadership qualities are automatically and naturally improved on. Now for this, I always opt for. And I find an opportunity where I get platforms like this to talk to people around. Right? Maybe one fine day I can start doing full time because this is something that I enjoy doing it. Right? So this is where, back to you, Anu.
No, that's very interesting, Colonel Alok, because as you rightly said, we need to listen to our heart. Very simple, right? Every work that we're doing, it should give intrinsic happiness. And of course, taking care of the interim milestones of realities. But that's not the big deal. In today's world, opportunities are in galore. And even if you do painting, you just need to be good in that, right? Whatever you choose to do. You cannot afford to be mediocre. And that happens when you really listen to your heart. It's obvious that over a period of time, you will pursue excellence and you will get display experience. So that's true. Another construct around this passion business that people talk about is around passion and skill. So there is a concept of passion, which is people say that, okay, it gives me meaning. Like someone says that, okay, I love teaching, right? I really feel that, I need to be academic, I'm adding value to students, very good. But the other construct that's there is around skill. Am I a good teacher? So these at times doesn't necessarily happen together. So I may be really passionate or I have great meaning to play cricket for India, but I'm not a good cricketer, right? So the two independent variables I'm talking about, one is passion or something that gives an individual meaning, and the other is skill, something which I'm coded with, right? So maybe you are in military, you have certain skill set of looking at uncertainty, or let's say I want to become, let's say, a painter. I can naturally, maybe I'm conditioned to have those hard brushes, shading and stuff. So the question is, the perspective for you is, do you think it's a good approach for young people to identify what they are good at and then structure their life around it and try to find a profession or area of work that is around it? Or alternatively, is it the philosophy that if you find meaning in something, if I want to be a teacher, then I take that as a profession and then invest the hours, get coached, invest the hours, and develop skill in that? So what do you think is, according to you and your life experiences, a right approach for an average person?
I would say, in fact, that it depends on the individual, and I'll tell you why. There is always a conflict between the urge and the capacity. You always have an urge of doing something, but you're not capable, or maybe you don't have a capacity to do the thing. And that's where you can say the decision comes into place. The decision could be either way. Fine. When I talk about the decision, that the speed of decision, there are two words. One is quickness, second is appropriateness. At times you can be quick to take decision that I can go this way or this way, may not be appropriate because you do not have the right skill. Fine. And at times you are not required to be quick, but you are required to be appropriate. That means you can take time, you can give yourself time, see that how good I am in this, how much this is aligned to my future, and actually, if I like teaching, but actually teaching is my cup of tea or not, give yourself complete time and then take a decision whether I have to go ahead with it or I don't have to go ahead with it. Both the ways are okay. It depends on the individual bandwidth. It depends on how much time you can invest. Because let's say I'm not good at a particular thing, but I keep pursuing. with hard work, of course, people reach at certain level. But then do you have that much of time? Can you invest that much of energy? Can you invest that much of money? If you can, go ahead. There are people who pursue the passion who take longer time, but at the end of the day, they're successful. And there are people who do not have that much of bandwidth, time, and energy. They cannot afford. So I would practically advise them, see, it's not only one thing that you're good at. You are good at multiple things, not only one thing. So you find what next. Find what next. Find, like today, if I ask you, and if somebody will ask me to be a musician, even though I like singing, but I'm not a good singer. One way is that I invest too much of time in singing and leave other things around. And if I have a bandwidth, why not? Another way, oh no, I'm not good at singing. Yes, I enjoy, kind of casual singing here and there, but I'm not a good singer. But I'm definitely a good sports person. I'm definitely, good at certain things. Why not pursue that? I'm definitely a good speaker. Then why not find ways and means to speak and give it back? I'm definitely a good leader, or maybe I'm definitely good in terms of taking the group to objective. Why not spend that? So you have to find, every individual has certain strong points and certain shortcomings. When I say strong points, that means capacity, and it's not that it's a personality. It's not that I have only one good thing. I may have certain things to improve, and I may have certain things which I'm good at. You find what is next, how much bandwidth that you have, and choose very, very carefully what suits you, in fact, at that point in time. Something which can give a fair balance of your interest and your survival practicability, both the things. That's what I would suggest. Don't just go blindly. That's what makes a person different from the leader, because when I talk about leader, they take calculative risks, right? You cannot take blind risk. If you take a blind risk, the probability of falling is very high. Yes, somebody can survive, but probability of falling is very high. So you have to be cautious about it. But if you take a calculative risk, where the probability of getting into success and probability of getting it through is more, likely chances they will sail through. And there is always a plan B for plan A and plan C for plan B. In any sphere, any walk of life, if you follow this, you will never, I would say, go completely, you will never fail, in fact, because you always have an alternate to the first one. But you spend, you want to give yourself a little time, you gave little time, but you found that, okay, this is something not coming up. What next? I have next available to me, and that next may work better. You quickly switch over and go ahead in that, right? So that's how it works. You have to get into the flair. What flair do you have? What is important is what flair do you have? For example, you see Neeraj Chopra is a javelin thrower, Olympic champion now, right? At certain point in time, I'm sure when he had started his career, he must have had multiple options in sports itself. But when he had multiple options, he quickly figured it out. The javelin thrower, maybe some kind of this throw, that will work better for me. Fine. And that's how he continued his passion. You talk about any of the successful people, you talk about Mahendra Singh Dhoni. If you see the movie, probably he was a football player initially, he was a goalkeeper. Fine. He would have pursued his career in football. But at some point in time, he found that no, something is more attractive to me. Something is more interesting to me. And in cricket also, it's like wicket keeping and batting both. So what is more? You talk about any successful people. Fine. They always have a plan B and plan A, except for few of them. And probably if you get into their details of life, probably they also had some plan B. If this fails, then what? Fine. I can give you an example of one of my cousins. He's a very senior IAS officer. He qualified IAS, but he always had a plan B. Yeah, when I talked to him, he secured 11th rank in the civil services UPS exam. But when I talked to him, what if it failed? He said, I had the plan B ready, where I had qualified this exam, and I had a plan C ready for this. So this is in terms of his career and education. Fine. I met a person somewhere around last week, around a couple of weeks back. He was my colleague. He is an excellent dancer. He dances very well. Other than his job, he dances very well. And he wants to pursue his dancing. And when I say dancing, he talks about, I am good at bachata. I said, if this doesn't work out, then what? Then he had another form of dance that he's learning. And he says, if this doesn't work out, then the next one I'm ready at. So have a very careful selection of your and a kind of a balance of your interest as well as your skill also. Do not venture, I would say, if you really feel I don't have a flair, and if you feel that, okay, then I would say it depends on your time, energy. Pick up something which is next to it, actually. that will give you satisfaction. Fine, probably that will give you direction also. And gradually what happens, the moment, even if you pick the second best, and if you continue with it, the moment you start excelling in this, the moment you start getting the taste of success in that, that becomes a priority one. You feel that, okay, this is something I was meant for, not the first one.
Right.
That's all.
No, absolutely, Colonel Lalo, because what, as you rightly pointed out, probably life is more an iterative process, right? It's not a straight jacket 0 and 1 that you will very clearly see that you are a best painter and you structure your life around it. You try out, like you gave a very good example of Neeraj Chopra, right? I mean, I'm sure he's not born with being a javelin thrower, and he was he was in the army. So it's not that he got in that quota or something. So it came out that he can throw well. He had a greater throughput and stuff, and he tried out. Maybe he would not have been that successful had he turned to be a hockey player. But that is the skill. That is the skill that he could figure out that I am unique in this. And that probably would have had some iteration at a very early stage in his career when he joined army or when he was even before army, right? And he's not a true sportsman he's not Mahendra Singh Dhoni who was groomed to be a sportsman. He became a sportsman. So this is very interesting that probably the other variable is you have to have.
And I'm sorry, I know I'm cutting you here. Just wanted to add one line. When you have to figure out what you are good at actually, be true to yourself, be true to your heart. That is the most important thing, because many people, I would say that they pursue something because they're influenced by the ecosystem, they're influenced by the society, they're influenced by the peer group, they're influenced by the media, they're influenced by the success of others. And in that bargain, what happens? They forget their true self. So when you introspect and see, your heart will tell you where are you good at more. Then the gap between, you can say, where you're good at and what you have to pursue will be very less. Maybe it will be a line in one straight line.
No, true. Very profound, Colonel Alok, because as you said, yes, I mean, and that's a very big fallacy that what happens when you take the courage to do something, then suddenly you hear from your peer, oh, this guy is probably doing this and he's very successful. Or, there's a lot of peer pressure, social pressure, and you then somehow give your deep sense of belongingness to a particular trade and rather choose that which gives you quicker return, right? Quicker return on your investment of time, effort. And that is where mediocrity bonds. That's the epicenter of mediocrity. Absolutely. Because of course you will make the money quicker, but you will never be the Neeraj Chopra, right? Had Neeraj Chopra been a football player, he would have not been probably what he made for India and for himself today. So that's very true. That's very true. And life is again not in 0 and 1. So you can't straitjacket skill and passion and meaning. You have meaning in something, you try it out. And the other angle is economics, right? Today I may want to write poetry and I may be good at it. But the question is, can I make it a financially viable career writing poetry? I don't know. If someone has the skill set of Shakespeare, why not? But in 9 out of 10 cases, they will not, because it's not a commercially viable area of work, right? So one has to understand then that particular area. Either if you have to become a poet, then okay, do something and use a parallel track to try it out, right? Present in events and try to make your name there and then shift, rather than going there all out and then failing flat and then coming back. So very true.
Absolutely. And imagine if you, every single failure gives you an opportunity to think and rethink that, are you good at something else? I'll give an example, very simple example. Just imagine, had I qualified in IIT JEE, it would not have given me a reason to join army. Right? It would not have given an opportunity to join army. And when I look back and I feel, because I could not pursue that career in engineering, today I feel, and at some point in time, I started commanding people who are graduate from IITs and other places. At certain point in time, my personality assessment, I started assessing people who are graduate from IITs, and probably I found them not to be a good leader to join military, in the office capacity. So when I look back, I said, do I regret not qualifying IIT or any other such entrance exam? I do not regret, because that point in time, had I got into that, I would not have got into this. Similarly, when I assess personality in SSB, Service Selection Board interview, I could see people coming from the various, you can say, education background, good colleges here and there, but not everybody qualifies. It's like 3 to 5% or 7% maximum, right? But just imagine many of them, they don't qualify to be a military leaders, but later they qualify to be a civil servant. They qualify to get into good IAMs and become a good corporate leader. They qualify to become a good scientist. So failure in SSB, failure in military doesn't mean that everything is over. That gives you a reason to think as to, oh, you are good at something else. And that's where you have to explore yourself more.
Correct, correct. Absolutely, absolutely. So every failure should be seen in the right perspective, and it's a state of equilibrium, right? Life is an iteration. If you fail, get stuck, that's being foolish about it. So you're right. You're right. I mean, probably you could. I mean, as you said rightly, that had you got through IIT, probably would not have pursued the career. And like, irrespective of anyone else, you try for IIT, you don't get it, that's fine. Try for something else. Maybe you're more cut out for that. And what ends up happening, this is my opinion, Colonel Alok, is like students, like 20, 30 years back, probably everyone there had two options, engineering and medical. Today, this MBA fever has stuck people, or computer science. Everyone wants to be in IT, right? Because it's a ticket to US and all the jazz. The key question is, when a student who's a young mind, who is in their class 12th, 11th, and seeing the world and trying to make career choices, they see that, okay, the topper of their seniors, their cousins, so on and so forth, is appearing for IIT. That becomes a key motivator. So the trick is, information is important, guidance is important, but you also have to have one leg, one feet into what I am good at. I mean, I may become a miserable engineer, right? And I know so many IITs, as you said, not only forget about leadership, they're not even good leaders, because I mean, they had a sharp mind, but they have no engineering and no love for engineering. Now, of course, you get through IIT, you suddenly, your prestige in the society goes up and blah, 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 you get great jobs, you get into that flow, and you never got an opportunity to think back, what is it that I want to do in life? And suddenly you are 32, and we know a lot of people like that. You're 32 and you have 7, 8 years of corporate career, and then you are struggling. What am I doing in this Tata group? What am I doing in this? What did I do for what I do? Externally, great credentials, great stuff. And I know even people after their MBAs from IIMs, they are very miserable because they feel, okay, we did an IIT because then everyone did IIT. Then salaries of MBA lured everyone. We did MBA. Dimag tha, I had the gray matter. I cracked the MBA exam. Right? I'm really not interested in doing this business. It doesn't give me meaning. So one has to look at the extrinsic factors, but I think deep within, the mistake probably a lot of people do is not having one feet on what is my internal compass, right? What is it that I really want to do? And then try to find a balance, which gives an economic, that's very true. Very, very, very interesting perspective, Colonel Alok. So my next maybe perspective will go around leadership. So you spoke about leadership qualities, and you are personally an expert in that. So what would be your suggestion one should do to really develop leadership skills? Now, I'll tell you a little bit, give you more background of this question. The background comes from two factors. One, I mean, we agree or not, but India as a country is growing very fast, and we are really going places. But also, a large part of India, there's a value deficit, right? Very self-centric. We as individuals, and I'm very proud to be an Indian, but as individuals, we know at a society level, we're very self-centric. It's difficult for us to, for whatever reasons, maybe geography, region, race, religion, whatever, but we are not, we haven't evolved really. That is one. So it's a trust deficit society, despite having a glorious past. The other aspect is around leadership is, leadership is about social influence. Leadership is an impact. Of course, you come from army, you are trained for that. But general people, 99% who are groomed in a civil life, corporate life, it ends up, if I look at corporate life, it ends up about an individual reaching a certain goal. Maybe they want to be the CEO, they want to be, and we all are aware of the corporate politics, right? I mean, while we may oversell things, but COVID has taught how disloyal both sides can be to each other, right? So what I wanted to understand from you, why I gave this background is, in your definition of leadership, how do you define leadership? That's my first question. And then what would be your recipe or suggestion for young people to really develop those key qualities that help them becoming great leaders?
So, Anu, if you look at various corporates, everybody defines leadership qualities in their own way. Everybody had different definitions. Yeah, there may be few common definitions for all, but then every organization defines leadership its own way. When I look at leadership, there's a very famous statement that says leadership is not about position, it's about responsibility. And my first and foremost thing is that it's about responsibility. Now, whose responsibility? Your own responsibility, somebody else's responsibility, not that. It is about taking the responsibility of the group that you are part of. Whether somebody has nominated you to be a leader or not nominated you to be a leader, it is a quality to take the responsibility of the group. And the more responsible you are, you feel yourself to be for the group objective, the more quality you're developing in yourself. And gradually, sooner or later, you will definitely go, and if you're not nominated to be the one, you will be nominated because it will be seen. Now, how do you do that? The moment you are a part of the group, the word comes social adaptability, social intelligence. Fine. When I say social adaptability, when you work in a group, you have peers, you have seniors, you have various even leaders, and you have your juniors, you have freshers, everyone around you. You play with everybody's emotions, and therefore emotional intelligence becomes very, very important. It's not managing your emotion, it's managing everybody else's emotion. But mind you, it's not just managing. Everything is for a purpose. And therefore, leadership should have a purpose. Why are you doing it? If the purpose is the group objective, achieving the group objective, and for that, if you're taking the responsibility, that is from where the basics of leadership that starts. Let me give you an insight about military leadership. And before I say so, I can just tell you the selection procedure. Every single exam in India, every single, you can say, selection process in India, be it civil services, be it management, CAT exams, and whatever it is, everything, every single exam has undergone a change in the last 70 years. The pattern has changed over the last 70 years. Defense is the only SSB procedure, and defense is the only procedure, only process which has not changed in the last 70 years, and I don't think it's going to be changed shortly. Why? Because it's tried and tested method. Situation changed, dynamics change, personality change, economic status change, the process has not changed. And it's not that, I can tell you, efforts have not been made to change it. A lot of efforts have been made inside to change it, but ultimately everything failed because it's such a tried and tested method. And in that, even though the defined leadership qualities for military, the various leadership qualities, I could talk about it, somebody is found low in sense of responsibility and the social adaptability. We do not consider them. Rather, this is something which is the basics that we find. Even though he's very good in his communication, power expression, he has got excellent marks, fine. He's very confident to talk to, but if he's low in sense of responsibility, if he's low in social adaptability, and both are interrelated, they're not in isolation. So this is the basics that start, because when you be a part of group, what is the purpose? When you see, there are two purposes. One is that you have to become a team leader and then project manager and something or the other. And the purpose is to increase your compensation. Then your focus is different. Fine. If the purpose is no, I have to transform the team. I have to transform the group that I'm part of. This group should be the best. Fine. Compensation or no compensation, this group has to be the best. This group has to achieve its objective in the best possible manner in the time frame that is given to me, even before that. If that is a purpose, compensation takes a backseat. Yes, of course, it doesn't take a so backseat, but it takes a little backseat. And the moment you do that, your efforts, your skills, everything is seen, observed by the people. Despite of various, I would say, corporate dynamics and politics, you call it, sooner or later, he always being nominated to be a leader. And the moment you go to that place, the compensation will follow. Fine. Of course, largely it will follow. Some complaints at times remains, and always remains in terms of compensation, but largely it follows. So social adaptability, and you are a part of group, you feel, and I just give you a correlation. When you be a part of family, irrespective, you have brother, sister, anyone in the family, you're part of sibling, you always feel good when your family takes a name. It brings good name. Your family's objective, you do not want your family's name to go down. And that's where at times people say, oh, he is son of so-and-so, or he belongs to that family. And you feel proud taking the name of your surname, at times maybe surname, at times maybe your school, at times maybe your college. You feel proud to be in that college, right? Because that something gives you a lot of kick. And therefore, that when it comes to development of leadership, working in a group, taking the responsibility of the group, and in that responsibility, in that working, your group effectiveness, that matters, how much effective you are. And you can be effective in various ways. You can influence people with your confidence, with your initiatives, with your communication, with your responsibility, with at times the application of your knowledge. Everything comes, everything is interwoven. But if you're not a part of a group, if you're isolated, if you feel to be alone, and if you prefer to be alone, if you work, then maybe with your application knowledge and maybe with your knowledge and skills, you can be best as an individual contributor. But again, I would like to give a stress on, even though you are an individual contributor, you will be a part of the group later, sooner or later. Nobody works in isolation, right? Everybody they work in, and somebody plays a role of an individual contributor and somebody plays a role of a larger responsibility. So at the end of the day, emotional intelligence, social adaptability, sense of responsibility is priority one for anyone to develop this leadership quality. And combining with that, another 3 words I say, that how early you give up, what is your threshold, fine? That means, and everything has a purpose. It is not your purpose. It's like a group objective is first. So how early you give up? Now, just say if I make a statement, if he's willing from the heart, that is, he feels responsible and he doesn't give up, he will find his way in some other way. I have less confidence in public speaking. I will go practice, I'll gain more confidence. I do not have appropriate knowledge, or maybe I lack in certain kind of specific knowledge, functional knowledge, and I'm part of a group, and I feel, oh, group objective to pahunchna hi hai, karna hi hai chahe jaise bhi ho, and I will not give up till the time is reached. Within the group, I'll approach anyone and everyone, please teach me, or please, if you are good at it, you take on, fine? You will find your ways and means. If you have 2 things, the basic group functioning, group effectiveness, that is sense of responsibility, and you don't give up. And when you don't give up, you take calculated risks. If you don't give up, your, I would say, mental stamina, your threshold is even higher because you can take pressure. Your determination, that is sustained effort to reach to the objective despite obstacles and setbacks. You feel so responsible. At home, if something happens, you don't give up. Which whatever incident hota hai, for example, your brother has met with an accident, you will not give up. You will take him anywhere and everywhere, do everything possible to, kind of get him treated to the best of the level. Even though you don't have money, at times you may run short of money, you will find your ways in some other way, right? Because you feel responsible. You're at home, if you find your mother, she feels responsible for everybody in the family. And she will do everything. She will give up her comfort, absolutely. Fine. She will get up in the morning and she'll do everything possible so that you excel in life, so that you do well in life, so that you reach school and college on time. And that kind of responsibility from heart should be there, and you don't give it up. Rest, everything will fall in place. Your mental stamina has to be good. Your calculative risk. These are all like how early. If your mental stamina is low, you will give up early. If you don't take calculative risk, you will give up early. The moment it is an obstacle, you will not take risk. You will play very safe. You will not move ahead. Fine. You will not reach to the objective. You will prefer say, no, this is not good for me, rather than taking a little bit of risk, calculative risk. You will not take a sustained effort. You will not, once the effort is not paid off, you will not take the second step and second effort. Fine. You will give up quite easily. So these are 2 specific, I can tell you, which is a very, very important ingredient for somebody to develop the leadership qualities. And how do we do that at a day-to-day life? Because when I talk it is theoretically, but actually it's not theoretical. It is quite easy. It's not very difficult. But then, yes, you have to be consistent. Any day in a day-to-day life, people develop leadership qualities for the sake of it, that, okay, I have to develop quality. But how to develop it? They do not implement it in the day-to-day life. They develop by attending certain session. They tend to develop by, talking to people here and there. But when it comes to implementation in day-to-day life, there is a challenge. And there's absolutely a challenge, because when you are a part of a group, that is a family. When you're part of a friend circle, that's again a family. When you're a part of a class, that's a family. When you're a part of a team, that is a sports team, that's a family. When that's a group, you take responsibility, you'll do everything. And that's where the implementation comes into picture. It is not, implemented just for a particular, event or activity. It is day-to-day implementation. When for the parents or maybe for the elders, when they want to grow their sons and small, younger brothers, give them opportunities where they can express themselves, give them opportunity where they can take responsibility and encourage their failures. Right? How do I teach my kid if I don't give him, you can say, opportunity to go out and explore in the market, that how to buy things, buy stuff? He will not learn. And the moment he goes out, once he can make mistakes, second time he will understand, okay, this is the responsibility. Because, and I'll just give you a very simple basic example. I come from a small place. When we were kid, whenever there is a visit of a guest at home, at times my mother would ask, okay, go out in the market and buy something and come, some important, or whatever she gives, fine. And the moment you go, it is your responsibility that you pick up that stuff as your mother told you and come back on time. Because related to that is your prestige as the family's prestige at stake, because something is to be offered to the guest. And I just imagine if you go and you don't come back on time, you become casual and get left and right here and there. The purpose is not solved. The objective is not met. But if the mother gives you the responsibility, you come back, you get a sense of feeling. You get feeling actually, okay, I have contributed in the success of the family. I have contributed in, can say, glory to the family. The guest is happy, my mother is happy, and I have contributed. And what you have sacrificed? You have sacrificed your interest because you are tempted to go with your friends here and there. Right? So it's a very basic day-to-day life implementation. When it comes to school and colleges, there are a lot of activities and events. What do? Do you participate? And if you participate, what do? You just remain a mute spectator, or you just participate, at the individual level, or you are sincere about the overall conduct and the success of the group and the event. It's a group event. And if you are more concerned about it, you will contribute more. You will not only take your individual responsibility, you will always be willing to take additional responsibility because your interest and your heart is towards the group objective. So that's how in the day-to-day life, and it goes on and on. It goes on to when you work in a corporate, you remain a part of the group. When you remain a part of the group, you have your own deliverables. You do your deliverables, but many a times you have a different, kind of peers around, peers with low skill, high skill, and whatever, different intensity, different degree of skills. Are you helping somebody else if needed? And if you're really helping somebody else to come up to the challenge, because ultimately everything put together is a group objective, right? And you have to sacrifice your comfort. The moment you're helping somebody else, you're taking on his responsibility also. You're giving up your comfort level. But why you are doing it? Because you want the team objective is to be met. The group objective is to be met. You feel that way, you're in the right lines, right direction. But if you're just fixated with, okay, this is my KRA, this is my deliverable, I finish, I go back home. Maybe at times it may work out, but many times it may not, because you're not developing that habit. You're not developing that habit. And you have a very tough boss, fine. And the moment toughness comes, the pressure comes, and the ecosystem gives you that pressure, you tend to just give up and say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to the next company. Yes, of course, as a part of career move, you have to do that. And do it when you're on top of it. Do it when it's a part of career move. Don't do it just because it's too much of pressure, right? Because then you will learn how to give up under pressure conditions. You will not learn how to come up to the challenger under pressure conditions. And that learning, that habit will be throughout your life along with wherever you go, right? I have a very interesting anecdote. If you allow me, and if I have time, probably I can just share with you. During my training days, when I joined the military academy, before that I was a good sports person. And I also felt military training is all about physical training here and there, and I will always come up. It will not be very difficult for me. But the moment I joined, 10 days down the line, I felt that, no, this is not my cup of tea and I need to leave this place. And in the tough and minute-to-minute tight schedule, right from morning 4:30 or 5 till next morning 4:30 or 5, every minute is tight. And then every morning, 5 o'clock, you get up, 6 o'clock, you go for a physical training drill, 8 o'clock, you come back, 9 o'clock, you have to get into the class. And mind you, 9 o'clock doesn't mean 9. It's like 8:50, you have to be there, fine. And when you come back at 8 o'clock, you have 50 minutes window. But actually, how much is the window? Firstly, your seniors will take bath, fine. You cannot do that. So all those discipline has to be put in place. All those norms and everything is there around. So ultimately, you end up having everything at 8:30. You go to the mess. You cannot skip your breakfast. And the moment you go to the mess, you have various norms and discipline and table manners to be followed. And then the moment you make a mistake, your seniors are there to tick you off. Fine. So in that tight corner situation, you reach at 8:50. And one fine such morning, when I reached back, I thought today is last. After 10 or 12 days, I can say, no, I just want to give it up and go back. So the fellow mate who was sitting, he said, you're not coming to the breakfast today. I said, no, I'm going to the headquarters. I'll simply resign and go back. I'm in place in the corporate, probably that's better for me. And then he asked me one question. He said, you know how many people have become an officer from this place? I said, yeah, almost 45, 50,000 in the last 70 years or whatever, 50 years at that point in time. And then he asked the next question, and how many people qualify to be at this place? I said, hardly 5 to 7%. And so how many applicants? I said, many lakhs. They said, you are the chosen one to be here. You're interesting. You have an opportunity to don uniform and you are giving up just because of little pressure. I was still not convinced, but somehow I did not resign. I went to the class. In the night, I spoke to my father. There was no mobile, so I found my way, from inside PCO at around 2:30 in the morning to speak to my father. My father was a very strict disciplinarian. Right? He would never express his emotions, even though he had a lot of them. And then he did not give me pressure. He said, if you are not feeling comfortable, you come back. But when you come back, what will you tell you to your friends? What will you tell you to your peers? You told them that you're going to do this. And would you go back and say, I have given up because of this pressure? And he says, still okay. You will still get a good job. You'll get good money. And he assured me that. But he spoke one more thing. And he said, you will get a good job, but the habit you will develop of giving up whenever there is a problem, wherever you go, whichever sphere and walks of life you go, this habit will continue with you. Every time there'll be a problem, you will give up. You will find an alternate. You will never have an attitude to take up challenges and succeed. You want that to happen? Okay, fine. But choice is yours. I'm all with you. And when I came back, I said, I would never kind of, see myself in life as if jab bhi dikkat hoti hai and there's a problem and challenges, I give up. No, I do not want to see myself in like that way. I do not want to go and face my friends and say, I have given up. I don't want to develop this habit in a life. And that day I decided, now whether there's a life or death, I'll be here only. And it's just a matter of changing your mindset. That day I changed my mindset. Within 15 days from then, I was tuned to that culture. And I was so tuned that I completed my training and today I'm here. The rest is history. Whenever there's a challenge, don't give it up. Go ahead. And if you want to change your career, right, as a part of career move, do that. But don't give up just because it's a tough scenario. And that's where the leadership comes into picture. Because when you take responsibility, you have immense pressure on you. And you can experience, I'm sure you would have experience in life, as a leader of the family, you always face immense pressure. You do not know how to take that up. You have not learned how to manage with that. Then it's difficult for you to be a leader. And if you know how to do that, gradually it becomes a habit. Right? And the first statement long time back when I said, you become comfortable if there's uncomfortability. And that's where you're nominated as a leader. That's where you are, even without, the group, the organization at times may not nominate you. The people will nominate you to be a leader. In case of crisis, they will come up to you. They'll come to you and say, okay, you give me a solution. Okay, let's go to him. He will give a solution. Fine. So that's how, these are the ways that you develop in day-to-day life. Every moment in life, you have an option to choose something, give up and choose something. Don't give it up. Find a solution, come up to it. And then if you want to choose something else, that's your wish. So that's where.
Very deep. I was listening intently and you really touched me because, you're absolutely right. Listening to a video, listening to someone, talking to someone is one. Implementing it day in, day out, both the factors, social adaptability, and it's so critical, right? And taking responsibility. It's very interesting how there's an opportunity every day, right, to implement each of those in small activities, even if you're playing a game or in the ground. And again, as you rightly said, habits carry on, right? If you give up once, that is in your DNA. Now you just need to do 2-3 times, and that is, you're hard coded for that. And the reverse is also true. So when you shared an anecdote, that's so very powerful that probably you would not have been today what you are had you taken that decision that day of giving it up, right? And again, what you said is very, very powerful, that it's a mindset, and mindset shifts in a matter of seconds. There's nothing, there's nothing called, I'm risk averse, risk free. Yes, you are risk averse because someone has been traditionally doing that and have taken so many action that the karma bang, whatever way we may call it, is always the unconscious is always telling, okay, this is street problem, take a different cut. But the moment once you face that problem, kill it, then it's gone. And it happens many times. Like people are fearful of dogs, let's say. But you just need to confront it once. People are fearful of public speaking. You just need to do that once and then it's gone. People are fearful of heights. So we have seen so many examples. No, but very, very, very deep, profound, very impactful life story as well as your perspectives, Colonel Alok. Thank you very much for your time. And we really, really very impressed with the inputs that you have shared. I am sure this is going to be very helpful in developing leadership skills and seeking passion and success in life for many of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anu. It was a privilege for me. I always get energized when I have to give it back to the needing people, when I have to give it back to the young people who are aspiring to be a leader in the different walks of life. And it is always privilege, all happiness talking to such platform and through this platform talking to many such youngsters. Thank you very much.